UFC Fight Night, Cannonier versus Rodrigues is happening this Saturday. I'm going to be breaking down the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event. Before we get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get into this pretty good card, boys. Let's get into it. Starting off with the prelim opener of Julia Avila versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I broke this down in my quick picks videos last week. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. But Julia Avila is basically 10 years older than Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I know it doesn't really matter depending on the age, but in this case, it does matter. We're at women's bantamweight. Jacqueline Cavalcanti is the bigger woman. She's got amazing striking. She's on a 3-fight win streak. Julia Avila, on the other hand, is not a great striker. She does primarily have most of her work on the ground. If she can get Jacqueline Cavalcanti down, she will do some good work, but she is a lot older, a lot slower than Jacqueline Cavalcanti, and Cavalcanti's striking is very high level. And when you look at the bottom of the bantamweight rankings, I don't even think Julia Avila should be in the rankings. The bottom of the bantamweight rankings is pretty weak. It is quite weak, and Jacqueline Cavalcanti can take over in the bottom of the rankings. She's coming off of a few wins, a couple split wins, but wins nonetheless, and I do think she deserved those wins. Those were good wins. I picked against her in her last two fights. She won both those fights. They were by split decision, but good wins by her. She beat Nunes, and I believe she beat Noella or some. I think it's Noella. And Julia Avila, her career has literally been up and down and up and down. I believe she's coming off of a loss, and Julia Avila is just such a mid fight. I don't think she should be in the bantamweight rankings. That's basically it. Like I'm not trying to hate on Julia Avila. She's got good ground game. She's able to deal damage on the ground as she can take you down, but she has to take you down, and she is quite a slow bantamweight. I just think Jacqueline Cavalcanti will have the speed advantage, and if and when she keeps it on the feet, which I do believe she will keep it on the feet for the whole fight, she will be able to outstrike and outpoint Julia Avila with ease. With ease, she's got the bigger reach, and she is the bigger woman. I think she will be able to land crisp jabs. She's got very good jabs. Jacqueline Cavalcanti's jabs snap back the heads of her opponents. She just circles around, lands her jabs, sticks her jabs for the whole 15 minutes, and she gets that decision. I think that will be the case in this fight against Julia Avila. We move on, though, to Don'Tale Mayes versus Walter Walker. How is Don'Tale Mayes in the heavyweight rankings? This just shows how shit heavyweight is and how cooked heavyweight is. Why is Don'Tale Mayes, who is 4-6 in the UFC, in the heavyweight rankings? It makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. He's going up against Walter Walker, who is 1-1 in the UFC. Lost to Lucas Brzeski. Lucas Brzeski, who is like 1-5. His only win, I think, is Walter Walker in the UFC. It's actually embarrassing that he lost to Lucas Brzeski. And he's coming off of a win over Tafa, the other Tafa brother. And he submitted him, but it was a verbal tap. It was very controversial. I win by Walter Walker nonetheless, but he's going up against Don'Tale Mayes. Don'Tale Mayes, he's a striker. He's primarily a striker. Doesn't usually take it to the ground unless he drops you. Then he goes for ground and pound. He doesn't have much power in his hands. He knocked out Andrei Arlovsky, who's an old aging heavyweight, was like 40 years old. Not a great win. Don'Tale Mayes doesn't have very good wins. Lost to Nascimento twice. Twice got submitted. The first time lost in the rematch by decision. I don't know why they rematched, but Don'Tale Mayes is the definition of a mid-heavyweight. Should not be in the rankings. Neither should Walter Walker. Both these guys shouldn't even have a chance to get in the top 15 right now. Neither of them are on win streaks. Neither of them have a good win, a nice knockout or a nice submission to get them into the rank. It just doesn't make sense. This is the effect of what happens when you don't re-sign Jairzinho Rozenstruik in heavyweight. Like, what the actual fuck, man? Like, what are we doing with heavyweight? Nonetheless, I'm just going to stop shitting on heavyweight and stop shitting on these guys, but I got to pick somebody, and I'm obviously going to be going with Walter Walker, man. I can't trust Don'Tale Mayes. You can't trust Don'Tale Mayes. Walter Walker only has one loss in the UFC, and in his career, it is to Lucas Brzeski. And Walter Walker, he's able to take it to the ground like we saw in the Tafa fight. He's able to look for submissions. He's got good BJJ. He is Johnny Walker's brother. He's still good. He's not completely, his chin isn't cooked, right? He hasn't been knocked out before. His chin isn't cooked, and I don't see Don'Tale Mayes cooking his chin anytime soon. So I am going to be going Walter Walker. Will he knock out Don'Tale Mayes or submit him? I don't think so. I think this will go the distance. I think Walter Walker unanimous decision is the way to go here. Oh, also in the other fight, Jacqueline Cavalcanti, I will be taking her by unanimous decision. Obviously, it's a woman's fight. What are we saying, man? Then we move on. We got Vince Morales versus Elijah Smith. This is a pretty good fight. This is a scrappy fight. I think Vince Morales is going to make it fun. Elijah Smith is pretty fun in his Dana White Contender Series fight. That was a very good fight. It was back and forth. throwing hands nonstop, pushing the pace. I think Elijah Smith has great cardio. So does Vince Morales, to be fair. Both these guys are going to be coming at each other for the entirety of the 3 rounds. I think it will go the distance as well. Vince Morales, he's got pretty good power. So does Elijah Smith. I think their power equals out, but I think Elijah Smith has the better cardio, the better volume. He's the younger fighter by a decent margin against Vince Morales. I believe Elijah Smith is 24. Vince Morales, I think he's 32, or he's somewhere in his 30s. There is a decent age difference between these two. Elijah Smith, much fresher fighter. I'm pretty sure he's undefeated. He's undefeated in his MMA career. He's done well for himself, and now he's fighting Vince Morales, who is aging and has lost his last fight. So I will be going with Elijah Smith. I think Elijah Smith's cardio will be better than Vince Morales, and his output will be better. Nonetheless, though, if Elijah Smith does shoot in for a takedown or something, Vince Morales can wrap up a choke. So as long as he doesn't do that, I think he will get the unanimous decision. So I will be going Elijah Smith by decision. We move on to the next fight, Gabriel Bonfim versus Chaos Williams. This is a good fight. Chaos Williams is coming in on sort of short notice. Bonfim was supposed to fight somebody else. I don't remember exactly who it was, but this is a pretty good fight. Bonfim, he's 16-1, only losses to Nicholas Dalby. He got knocked out. Some knees dropped him, and he got finished on the ground. Chaos Williams is coming off of a good win, a knockout win. That was a nice one-shot knockout win, I believe in under a minute. It was a minute or so, something like that. Nice win by him. Chaos Williams got good power, very good power. Gabriel Bonfim as well, but Gabriel Bonfim is the more well-rounded guy. I do believe he will be more well-rounded in this fight as well. Chaos Williams will not be shooting takedowns. He will not be trying to do any sort of ground game where Gabriel Bonfim can take it to the ground and he can look for submissions. He's got good BJJ. He's got good power in his hands as well. And as long as he doesn't get hit by Chaos Williams really bad, as long as he doesn't get clipped really bad, I think he will win this fight. I will be going Gabriel Bonfim. I'm going to say by submission. I think submission or decision. I think there's a higher chance that he gets Chaos Williams to the ground, finds a submission once he's struggling on the feet. I think Chaos Williams will do decent on the feet, and Bonfim will realize he can't strike with him and take him to the ground, look for that submission, wrap it up, and get the job done. So I will be going Gabriel Bonfim by submission. We move on to the next fight, Rafael Estevam versus Jesus Aguilera. Rafael Estevam hasn't fought in a couple of years. Last fight was Charles Jordan. I was going to say Charles Jordan. Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson, that was a decent fight, but it was a very close fight. Shouldn't have been a unanimous decision for Rafael. I rewatched it. It was very close. The only defining factor was that Rafael got takedowns and he got positions on Johnson, took his back. He wasn't able to find success in finding a submission or anything like that, but he was able to take the back and get a lot of control time, which is why Rafael won that fight. But that was a couple years ago. He hasn't fought. He's not active. And Jesus Aguilar has been active. He's been active. He's been fighting consistently, coming off of a submission win over Kulibao, I believe. Is it Josh Kulibao? I'm pretty sure it's Kulibao. Stuart. Is it Stuart Nickel? I think it's Stuart Nickel. Man, I'm mixing up the two of the. I think they're both Aussies. Mixing up the two of them, but Jesus Aguilar is coming off of a good win, good submission. He's been on a 3-fight win streak, I believe, and he's fighting Rafael Estevam, who does have a height advantage and does have a reach advantage, but is inactive, and he's gonna have to, get that ring rust off of him or that octagon rust off of him, which I think will take him at least a round or two. And during that time, I think Jesus will be able to get stuff going. He will be able to get stuff going during this fight. He has a short reach and he's a short guy. He's got, I think, the shortest reach in the UFC, at least in the men's UFC. And it's going to be difficult for him to close distance and try to land shots, but he is active. He's got great cardio and he has good groundwork. He's got a good amount of submissions in his bag. If it does go to the ground, I'm confident Jesus will be able to get stuff going. It just really depends with the striking, but I will be going with Aguilar. I think the activity and the way that he's been fighting recently will show well in this fight, and he will shut down this prospect, this undefeated prospect who hasn't fought in a couple of years, man. But we will move on to the next fight, Jared Gordon versus Mashrabon Ruzibav. I'm glad I'm doing another breakdown of this card. I did it last week. It was, I forget who it was. Who was he fighting again? He was fighting the Brazilian. He was fighting the Brazilian Cal Fernandez. And now he's fighting Mashrabon Ruzibav, who, man, I don't even know who the heck that is. I'm going to be honest. I think Jared Gordon is going to win this fight. I did check Ruzibav's record. I did look at a little bit of tape. He's a great striker. Most of his wins come by knockout. He's got good power, but he's fought in divisions that just aren't the level of the UFC. He's fought in different organizations that aren't the level of the UFC. And I think Jared Gordon is just such a good fighter. And he's also coming in on last, like short notice, very short notice, few day notice. I don't think he's going to be able to beat a guy in Jared Gordon who's very well rounded. Beat Paddy Pimblett, arguably beat Paddy Pimblett. He's fought some of the best guys. He's fought Charles Oliveira. He's fought some of these really high level guys, and now he's fighting Ruzibaev, who's coming in on short notice. I think Jared Gordon will get the job done. I think he will find a knockout or get the unanimous decision. I will be going Jared Gordon by knockout. He hasn't gotten a knockout in a minute. I think he can get it done in this one. We move on, though, to the final fight of the prelims, Angela Hill versus Ketlin Souza. Angela Hill, great striker. We know this. Just lost her last fight to Baby Shark. What's her name? I always forget her name, man. I always forget her name. You guys know who I'm talking about. Anyways, Ketlin Souza coming off of a win over Yasmin Uregui at, what was it, UFC 306? Anyways, that was a great fight. That was one of the fight of the nights. I think she got fight of the night, or yeah, I think she got a performance bonus for that. She knocked Uregui down and submitted her. It was a very good win. Angela Hill, she's a great striker. She outstruck Baby Shark in her last fight. She should have arguably won that fight, to be honest. I don't think it was a unanimous decision. It was kind of bad judging, very bad judging. Nonetheless, though, Angela Hill, we know who she is. She's a great striker. She's been around for ages. She's fighting Ketlin Souza. I think this is a very close fight. I think Angela Hill will do very well on the feet. And once Ketlin Souza realizes that she can't really close distance, she can't land as many shots as she wants to, she's got a shorter reach, I think she will go in to close the distance, get a takedown, and look for a submission. And I think once she has the top control on the ground, she will be able to hold Angela Hill down for the most part. Hill's got decent takedown defense, but I don't think she will be able to stop Ketlin Souza, who is pretty powerful on the feet as well. And if she stuns Angela Hill, she will take it to the ground, look for that submission like she did against Uregui. So I will be going Ketlin Souza. I think she will be able to land the better shots on Angela Hill and take her to the ground. I think the defining factor is going to be the takedowns. I think she will land some takedowns on Angela Hill. And I think she will hold her there and look for submission. So I will be going Ketlin Souza by decision or by submission. We move on to the main card. We started off with Connor Matthews versus Jose Delgado. Jose Delgado is an absolute dog. Came in on 11-day short notice on Dana White Contender Series. Got a beautiful knockout with his knee. Beautiful knee knockout. It was nice. It was crisp. It was powerful. Nasty stuff. He's a tall featherweight, and he's got a great reach. He's fighting Connor Matthews, coming off of a knockout loss to Dennis Bazooka, where he got hit pretty hard in the third round. Both the guys were gassing out, and he got knocked out pretty bad. But Connor Matthews is an ex-Marine. I believe he's an ex-Marine or an ex-Army. Very tough dude. He's a very tough dude. He doesn't go down too easy. It took Bazooka everything he had to knock out Connor Matthews. And Jose Delgado is going to have to dig deep to get Connor Matthews out of there. But I think he will do that exactly. I think he will do exactly that. Honestly, I look at Jose Delgado, and his style really reminds me of Carlos Prates. Genuinely, his style really reminds me of Carlos Prates, but at featherweight. So I think he will get the job done here. I am going to go Jose Delgado by knockout in round 1 or round 2. He's very dangerous. I think he's very dangerous, and his height and his reach advantage will be bad for Connor Matthews, who is not really a wrestler, man. And he doesn't go to the ground. He just wants to strike, and striking with Jose Delgado will not go well. We will move on, though, to the next fight. We got Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petroski. Oh, my God. I can't even say his last name. Petroski. This is a pretty good fight. I mean, Petroski's a pretty, average middleweight, but Rodolfo Vieira is exciting. He gets the finish. He looks for submissions. He's constantly looking for submissions. He's a 4-time national world champion in BJJ. He's very good on the ground. Very, very good on the ground. And I think he will dominate Andre Petroski once he gets it to the ground, which will be quick. Rodolfo Vieira does not waste time. He's going to be going straight to the ground looking for that submission. I think he will wrap up that submission on Andre Petroski. He could go arm triangle, maybe rear naked choke. We'll see what he does. But I think he will take it to the ground and look for that submission. I will go Rodolfo Vieira by submission in the early rounds. Andre Petroski really hasn't shown much. He just beat Dylan Budka, who's also on this card. But, he got top control, was raining down some punches. I don't think he'll be able to get top control on Rodolfo Vieira. It's not going to happen. Rodolfo Vieira is a very big middleweight as well. I think he will find the submission in this one. But we move on to the next fight. We got Ismail Bonfim versus Nazim Sadikov. This is a pretty good fight. Ismail Bonfim is coming off of a win, nice unanimous decision win. And Nazim Sadikov, I believe, is also coming off of a win. Yes, I think he's also coming off of a win. Both guys have beat Terrence McKinney. Both of them finished with Terrence McKinney in different ways. Bonfim, I believe he knocked him out with the flying knee, and Nazim subbed him. So both guys beat Terrence McKinney different ways, both well-rounded. Nazim Sadikov has a draw against Borshev, which was a close fight, but I think Borshev took it when I was rewatching that fight. And Bonfim, obviously, he lost to Benoit Saint Denis, who was able to take him down and look for that submission. But the difference was Benoit Saint Denis is a very big lightweight, to be honest. He is quite a big lightweight. He's got a lot of power, and he was way bigger than Ismail Bonfim. He was able to kind of dominate him on the ground and do what he wanted. Nazim Sadikov, on the other hand, feels like a small lightweight, to be honest. Like he's decently big, but when you look at him size wise in the octagon, and when you size him up against a guy in Borshev, who's also sort of a smaller lightweight, they looked about the same size. I think Ishmael Bonfim will have a size advantage in this fight. I think he will have a power advantage in this fight. And if it does go to the ground, I do still think Ishmael Bonfim's BJJ will be better than Nazim Sadikov's. So I will be going to Ishmael Bonfim. I think this will be a close decision. I don't see this being a finish. I think it'll be a very close decision that will side with Ishmael Bonfim. We move on, though, to Edmund Shabazian versus Dylan Budka. Man, when I was first predicting this fight, I was like, yeah, Edmund Shabazian is going to destroy Dylan Budka, of course, But I was rewatching some of Dylan Budka's fights. I think Dylan Budka, if he does one specific thing, can beat Edmund Shabazian. Shabazian has struggled consistently with his cardio. He struggled with his cardio, and he struggled with clinch work and ground game, of course, right? And Dylan Budka, when he was in the LFA, he did a lot of clinch work, a lot of good ground game. He had a lot of good ground game fights where he brought it to the ground. He had the back, or he was on top control. He was raining down shots. Like Dylan Budka did decent in the LFA. He was able to dominate some of those guys. And if he's able to get some good clinch work against Edmund Shabazian and wear him out, he'll have to wear him out. If he's able to wear out Edmund Shabazian, close the distance, really get close to him, not let him strike at all, not let him control the center of the octagon, I think this fight will side with Dylan Budka. I will be picking Dylan Budka. I think he will get a decision or a submission, but I will be going to Dylan Budka by decision. I think this is going to be close. I think it's going to be close, but I think Dylan Budka, if he does the right things, if he's got the good game plan, he lost to Andre Petrosky because he was on top, like I was saying before, and he was landing shots, but Edmund Shabazian will not be taking top control on Dylan Budka. He will not be taking him down. He won't be shooting at all. And Edmund Shabazian is quite a tall, lengthy guy, and if Dylan Budka can get him up against the fence, Shabazian won't really be able to grapple his way out of there or push his way out of there because he's kind of too tall to get out of bad positions like that. When he fought GM3, when Gerald Meerschaert took him to the ground, he kind of gave up and let him get that arm triangle and squeeze him until he tapped. So I think this will be the same kind of outcome as that GM3 fight. I don't see a submission coming by Dylan Budka, but I think a decision will be inevitable in this one, a unanimous decision for Dylan Budka. We move on to the co-main, Calvin Kattar versus Youssef Zalal. This is a pretty good fight. I rewatched. I want to pick Calvin Kattar. I can't, though. I'm going to pick Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal, his last 3 fights he just showed absolute levels. His striking just merges perfectly with his submission game. He was able to sub his last 3 opponents. And Calvin Kattar, he just fought, what's his name? Aljamain Sterling. He was able to survive on the ground against Sterling, who's a very good BJJ master, a very good champion at 135, and he was able to survive. I do believe he will be able to survive the submission game of Youssef Zalal, but I do think he will get outstruck and he will get his back taken for most of the fight. I think Zalal will be focusing on the wrestling and he will be outpointing and outstriking Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar's striking has looked weak in his last few fights. He hasn't been able to connect with anything. His boxing defense and his defense in general just has looked terrible. He's been letting strikes get through. He's been getting hit a lot. And I think this will happen in this fight against Youssef Zalal. I think he will get tagged a lot and he will get taken down and held there for a while. Youssef Zalal will look for the choke. I don't think he will find it. So I will be going Youssef Zalal by decision to beat Calvin Kattar. We move on to the main event. We got Jared Cannonier versus Gregory Rodrigues. This is a good fight. It's a close fight. Jared Cannonier coming off of 2 losses. He lost to Imavov by knockout. That was an early stoppage. Lost to Caio Baralho, almost got knocked out, but went the 5 rounds. Very tough dude in Caio Baralho. And now he's fighting Gregory Rodrigues, who's coming off of a win. He's coming off of a decision win over Christian Rodrigues, I believe. Yeah, I believe so. And this is going to be a close fight. This is a close fight. This is, to me, when I look at this, like, I know Jared Cannonier is an aging middleweight fighter. He's 40 years old now. Gregory Rodrigues is 32. There's a huge age gap between these two. But when I still look at this fight, I still see Jared Cannonier taking this fight. This is a dream fight for Jared Cannonier. People are saying this is Jared Cannonier's downfall, the end of his career. And I will probably make a video about that because it could be the end of his career here. But, Gregory Rodrigues is going to just throw hands for the entire fight. He doesn't have a huge height advantage on Jared Cannonier. It's nothing incredible. He's not going to mix in wrestling and takedowns. Jared Cannonier's got good takedown defense, and I don't believe this fight will be going to the ground. This will be a scrap, and I think Jared Cannonier will land the bigger, more powerful strikes, and I think he will stun Gregory Rodrigues. He could potentially reopen Gregory Rodrigues' third eye. I could see that happening. I could see him cutting him. Jared Cannonier, during that 5-round fight against Caio, he absolutely demolished his face, landed huge hooks, and bloodied Caio Baralho's face, gave him a huge gash under his eye. If that was above his eye, that fight would have been ended. It would have been a TKO. Jared Cannonier would have won that fight, and I think that will be the case in this fight against Gregory Rodrigues. I know a lot of people are going to be picking Gregory Rodrigues, and I've picked Jared Cannonier in his past few fights. He has lost those past 2 fights, but the difference in this fight is that these dudes stand a lot closer in height, and Gregory Rodrigues' style plays perfectly into Jared Cannonier's style. He doesn't jab. He doesn't go for long jabs and tries to stay at range and bounce around. He's a very heavy middleweight, and he just goes for big looping hooks, which Jared Cannonier can dodge and can cover up and shell up against, and he can land some of his own. So I think this is a very 50-50 fight. Of course, the odds are in favor of Gregory Rodrigues. He's got the age advantage, and Jared Cannonier is coming off of a couple rough losses, but I am hoping Jared Cannonier can bounce back in this one. I will be going Jared Cannonier by late KO or TKO in the end of the 4th, early 5th, man. I see a late stoppage in this fight, and I think it will be sided with Jared Cannonier. But that is the entire fight card, boys. If you did enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Oh my God, what did I just say? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, drop your comments down below which fight you guys are most excited for, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. See you.